It really is good to see you here tonight. How many of you are Jordan graduates? Just raise your hand. I won't make you get up. Some of you are old. We're so glad that you're here. We have some distinguished guests that we want to introduce you. Craig Fitz. Can you stand up, Mr. Fitz? Craig Fitz is the new principal. Well, he's not new now. He's been here almost a whole year. And I want you to know that Mr. Fitz is on our side, okay? I don't know that we've ever had a principal that was not on our side, but we know that he is, and we're thankful for it. Thank you very much. We had some other guests that are expected, but apparently they're running late, and we don't want to delay this wonderful band. Aren't they good? Y'all heard them. You heard them warming up, and you could tell they were going to be good, didn't you? We have with us tonight the Honorable Mayor Skip Henderson and his wife Karen. And the mayor is going to come up now and make a presentation.
Good evening. Well, listen, I know that I'm the only thing standing between us and this incredible band's music, so this will be real brief. But it is really an honor to be able to be here and celebrate the 30th anniversary of the Barr Community Band. And also, by the way, I didn't know we would also have an opportunity to celebrate the 59th reunion of JBHS. So this is a really special evening. I do have a proclamation that I want to present to the band. In recognition of all that they do and the joy that they bring throughout the community. And the proclamation reads as follows. It says, whereas the Barr Community Band celebrates its 30th anniversary, and whereas the Barr Community Band was established in 1988 as a memorial tribute to Robert M. Bob Barr, the director of the Jordan High School Band in Columbus, Georgia from 1946 to 1962. And whereas as a teacher and friend, he was a positive influence on the lives of hundreds of young people and was named one of the 100 most influential people in the Chattahoochee Valley in the 20th century. And whereas the influence of Robert M. Bob Barr upon his students impacted them not only during their tenure in the JBHS band throughout their life, but also throughout their lives. And whereas the Bob Barr Community Band is a concert band of more than 50 volunteer musicians who enjoy playing concerts for the entertainment of the community. Performances broaden appreciation for the musical excitement, style, and sounds that only a concert band can provide. And whereas the Bob Barr Community Band continues to perform concerts for citizens of Columbus, Georgia and the surrounding area under the direction of several conductors, including George Corradino and Fred Ketchings. George Corradino directed the band for the first 20 years. Fred Ketchings currently is the band's conductor, and the Bob Barr Community Band includes musicians from Columbus, Georgia, Fort Benning, Georgia, Phoenix City, Alabama, and the surrounding areas. And whereas the goals of the members of the Bob Barr Community Band are to make the best possible music for themselves and their listeners, to reaffirm pride in their community, and to broaden appreciation for the musical excitement, style, and sounds which only a concert band can play. Now, therefore, I, Skip Henderson, Mayor of Columbus, Georgia, does hereby proclaim Friday, May 10th, 2019 as Bob Barr Community Band Day.
Chief Ketchens has assembled a wonderful variety of concert music to entertain each of you, and especially the Jordan Vocational High School music classes in attendance this evening. We are honored that you have chosen to include our band on such a special occasion. Now sit back, relax, reminisce, and enjoy this marvelous evening of memorable concert music presented by the Barr Community Band, which is honored to begin its 30th year of entertaining our Tri-City community. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise and join me in honoring our great nation by singing our national anthem, the Star Spangled Banner. Fanfare for a New Age, composed by Michael Story, is designed as a concert, contest, or festival opener. We begin our 30th anniversary concert with Fanfare for a New Age. next number has a long history with both the Jordan High Band and the Barr Community Band. In 1948, Gene Kelly played it. In 1953, Harold Alexander and Charles Luttrell played it. In 1954, Jimmy Cross played it. And in 1958, Tommy Pugh and Laurel Ragland played it. As a tribute to these very accomplished musicians and members of the best band in the land who played it and are no longer with us, Bill Edwards, class of 1959, will now play it for all classes here tonight. Here is Stormy Weather. Some of our most colorful childhood memories include watching the Mickey Mouse Club on television, and back then it was in black and white, we didn't have color. Or sitting in the theater viewing the newest released Disney movie, or getting a chance of a lifetime to visit Disneyland or Walt Disney World. The Barr Band captures those memories with A Day at Disney, a medley of tunes featuring the Mickey Mouse March, The Great Outdoors, It's a Small World, You Can Fly, You Can Fly, You Can Fly, The Best Time of Your Life, and Yo Ho Ho, A Pirate's Life for Me. Ladies and gentlemen, A Day at Disney. Bob Barr Community Band respectfully dedicates our next selection, Be Still My Soul, in loving memory of Mrs. Vicki Cordino, the beloved wife of Dr. George Cordino, former director of the Bob Barr Community Band, who passed away earlier this year. Vicki was one of our biggest fans and was always singing our praises to everyone. She will forever hold a very special place in our hearts. Ladies and gentlemen, Be Still My Soul. The Old Grumbly Bear was originally composed for solo bassoon and symphony orchestra. This charming and humorous arrangement depicts the lumbering antics of a slow-moving, grumbly old bear, until the ending when the old bear gathers some momentum, Sharing the solo duties are husband and wife team Trip Parker on tuba and Rakia Parker on bassoon. Ladies and gentlemen, the Old Grumbly Bear.
How about that? One standing, the other sitting. Okay.
Did that sound like a grumbly old Bear George? I don't know why I call it you. Wasn't they phenomenal? I tell you what, I'm going to have a Okay, y'all been sitting too long, okay? We're about to sing our alma mater, the Carmen and the Gray. Are y'all ready? Okay, those who are able, please stand. Those who are not, they sent it. George, got something to say?
My name is George Casey. I'm a class of 59 graduate here at Vocational High School. I'm a member of the committee for the Jordan Athletic Hall of Fame. Our 2019 induction will be August the 3rd at the St. Luke Minister Center. $30 a ticket. We'd invite all of you to come. We have coaches, athletes, teachers, administrators that have been inducted. This year, our lifetime contributor inductee will be Robert Barr. Put that on your calendar if any of you would like to be there. It's a fun time to see a lot of people and a very good class going in, and we're especially excited to have Robert Barr inducted. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming to the podium to conduct America the Beautiful, one of the individuals who was instrumental in putting together this great band some 30 years ago in honor of our namesake, Mr. Robert M. Barr, and our first conductor, legendary musician and educator, Dr. George Cordino. George has asked that we sing along at a certain portion of this number, God Bless America. America the Beautiful Land. The Barr Community Band, Dr. George Cordino.
Bob Barr was a tremendous mentor to many band members, but especially to me. He and I were good friends. He's responsible for me coming to Columbus. I was teaching at Auburn University at the time. When the Columbus High Band came available, he called me and got me to come over here and meet Dr. Shaw and Mr. Bryce Carson, principal, and they talked me into leaving the university and coming to Columbus, which I don't regret one bit. Bob Barr and I enjoyed many wonderful times together. You can't believe what a marvelous role model he was, and what a great band director. all band directors around the country highly respect his expertise. He was a strong disciplinarian. I don't know if he could have gotten away with it now in the current times of things that he did to make sure perfection was achieved. I had the pleasure of being with him a week before he died in Jekyll Island. He was bedridden, very thin, could hardly talk. But he wished everything that I dealt with in Columbus, I was the music supervisor at the time, to prosper and get better, which it has, not only with me, but all of my people that have followed, including what Mr. Catchings has done with this wonderful band. It's gotten better, and that's a tribute to Bob Barr and to me. And I think when you look at the prosperity of 30 years, not many things last that long and get better as this one has. But it's a tribute to the expertise and perfectionist that Mr. Barr was, to not only me, but hundreds of his students. After he died, Jimmy Cross and I talked about we had to do something to honor this wonderful man. So we decided to get together at the Columbus High Jordan football game in November. He died in May. We put the word out. 115 people showed up from as far as California to get on the field. On Thursday night we rehearsed, and Friday night they performed. And you won't believe 5,000 people attended a football game, a high school football game, in tribute to Mr. Barr. And that wonderful band just did such a great job, 115 people. And from that event in November, they said, why don't we stay together? So those who lived in this area, we did a Christmas concert in December, and they decided to continue on beyond that. And you see the results of it now. And it really makes me proud to see the wonderful tribute to a wonderful man, Robert M. Barr.
Thank you, Dr. Corey. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming back to the stage the conductor of the Bob Barr Community Band, Chief Warrant Officer retired, Fred Catchings.
As quick as possible. As my mother would say, the Bob Barr Community Band and Jordan High School are joined at the hip. We are partners in education with Jordan High School Band. We performed Christmas concerts with them. We've awarded over the past couple of years 3 scholarships to deserving music students who are graduates of Jordan High School. There are about 15 of Bob Barr's band members that are participating in the community band today. And there are also about 3 Jordan graduates who didn't play under Mr. Barr, but who are still performing with the community band. Yes, we're joined at the hip, but, and one thing I want to say, we perform in the Robert M. Barr Memorial Auditorium. We rehearse in the band room. Sometimes we draft whomever is the band director here at Jordan into conducting and performing. Mr. Carmack's back there on French horn, the president band director at Jordan. We're joined at the hip. When we got ready to order new shirts to replace the old faded blue ones, for some reason they came back in Jordan colors. And, but what I'd like to say is that over these 30 years, it would have been impossible to put the community band together unless we had active participants from other high schools and colleges in the area. So I'd just like to, if you are in no way affiliated with the Jordan High School or the Jordan Band or the Jordan Alumni Association, would you please stand? And now everyone that's affiliated with Jordan High School, you red jackets, please stand.
to wind down our 30th anniversary concert, we feature one of our youngest members. Please join me in welcoming Micah Allen, saxophone soloist and a junior at Harris County High School, performing What a Wonderful World. We conclude our concert with a relatively new concert piece composed by Robert W. Smith, Into the Storm. Ladies and gentlemen, here is Into the Storm. Drive safely.